So that just happened. Yep, I literally just woke up because as the time of recording is gonna be 3 p.m, which is gonna be a little bit cold for my sleep. But out of nowhere, Honkai Stereo has actually just released the entire teaser for the upcoming version 4, at least for the, from what I'm seeing, next 7 units that's gonna be coming out. Right? So just gonna be taking a quick look as a very random, out of nowhere drip marketing. Without further ado, let's just jump in. An Aeonic game, a paradise of elation, geniuses, and oddballs, all get over here. Are you ready to become the Aha? Now, of course, you also can choose to surpass Aha, overthrow Aha, manipulate Aha, take Aha hostage, assassinate Aha, and ignore Aha. Huh? Ha. And this is a work of friction. Any resemblance to actual events is totally Aha's fault. So version 4 is looking to be very not too deep, because they are essentially going for every single possible, just like in true Elation fashion, every single possible oddballs, right, breaking the fourth wall and all that kind of stuff, all into this particular version. So the 7 units that has been released are gonna be Yao Guang, Blade, Evanescia, Sparxie, Silver Wolf, Nihilux, as well as Ashveil, right? So let's just jump in one by one for a couple of units that we already see, as well as the units that will be coming out in the future. So for 2 units that we already know as of right now is definitely going to be Yao Guang as well as Sparxie. For Yao Guang herself, she is going to be the Prosper Aha, earning money, getting rich. So this is going to be most likely tying to, if they're going to be going the route of like the 7 daily sins, this is probably going to be greed. And then the design is going to be looking like very similar to what we've seen from the drip marketing. So nothing too crazy to be said over here. Then for Sparxie, on a very similar note, that is going to be the You're the Aha. Oh my gosh, that is some nasty trash talk. But if she is gonna be like, because this is gonna be 7 different units, right, and they really want to go for the sins route, she might be the embodiment of, I don't know, Wrath, because it's trash talk. And I'll just leave up to you guys to say. So she's gonna be seeing, doing the blare, holding up what I'm assuming is actually gonna be her weapon, and that is looking like a sword, baton, someone along those lines, are wearing the similar bunny head that she's been wearing for the previous stream marketing. And then the 2 new units for the very first post is going to be Blade as well as the one and only Evanescia, and they literally just dropped it out of nowhere. Right? So talking about Blade first, he is pretty much the exact same guy, except that he is gonna be wearing a outfit of bandages as well as red outside of the original Blade that we see from the previous iteration, right? Other than that, I think his hair as well as his features is almost the exact same. They don't really show him using any brand new weapons. What appears to be, I'm guessing, his bare hands, unless they don't want to show the weapons for this particular segment. Glory Aha, reignite the past glory of laughter. Blady is on it. The only other person that I know calling him Blady is basically Kafka. So I'll leave it up to you guys to interpret yourself. But I do definitely want to talk about this unit right here, and that is gonna be YAE, Sakura, or Evanescia. Who is Aha? I don't know. My teacher didn't cover that. Why not ask the next person? So Evanescia, if you guys play Honkai Impact 3, she is pretty much the almost exact same unit that you will be seeing from the parallel universe, also making some sort of a guest appearance in Genshin Impact in YAE Sakura, but I'm pretty sure they are both completely different units. This unit is a lot more reminiscent to the HI3 counterpart over here, so that is going to be looking very nice. And if this is going to be based on release schedule, so the very first screenshot of the 4 different images is going to be like, for example, Yao Guang into Sparxie, then Blade into Evanescia might be a very interesting contender, because if they would not go for the Blade and Evanescia, that means following the drip marketing or the original post that they made from really long ago, it will be a double male banner, which will probably be at the first of kind. I don't think they are going to be doing that, because they kind of want to balance out the gacha audience, since I do believe that more than half the players in HSR are going to be tied to the male audience, right? So just purely for marketing, I think that's why they decided to shift the balance a little bit. So Evanescia is most likely going to be, at this point I have no idea, but probably the 4th banner coming out in HSR for version 4. Once again, I think this is going to be at the end of the day, Aha, right? So what if this entire thing was just a joke and none of it is real? So temper your expectations and don't really treat this as like, it's literally in the fine print. Do not treat this as a work of reality, right? It's purely a work of fiction, and any person in resemblance is entirely AHA's fault, right? So that's gonna be that for Evanescia, looking really, really nice. And then for the other 3 units over here, it's gonna be Silver Wolf, Nihilux, as well as Ashveil. I wonder where the bro come from. Okay, so for Silver Wolf, it's gonna be almost the exact same Silver Wolf that we have seen and loved ever since version 1.1. I don't think anything about it has particularly changed, aside from a brand new glove. There's a more mech. There's like a mech hands into a brand new controller. There's like more so of like a retrofit kind of thing. A King AHA for Silver Wolf, and AHA has once said, all hail the esteemed Silver Wolf, right? All hail the esteemed wolf. Time to show the universe what she's really made of. I think for this particular one, once again, if we're going to be going by the 7 Saints analogy, she probably would be along the lines of pride, right? Because it's an all hail wolf, right? King wolf. So very, very interesting design. I do notice that she have 2 life bars on top. So maybe just purely for illustration purposes, not too crazy for that particular thing. So now moving on into the next unit, and that is going to be Nihilux, Origin AHA, known as the strictest mother of the Aeons, as long as she turns in her manuscript on time. This unit is probably the one that I am the most interested in, because she seems to have some kind of ties with Aeonhood, as well as a little bit of breaking the 4th wall, in a sense where she looks like she is literally drawing like comic panels, right? Like you can see from the little picture on the eye over there, she is kind of just like drawing. It's almost like she's drawing herself, and the finger that's holding on to the little pen, the ink pen, it is filled with different inks as well, right? And on top of that, the necklace that she's wearing, I'm not too sure what that is gonna be a resemblance of, but if there is a single unit that might actually transcend the typical drip marketing for the previous other units, is probably going to be Nihilux, because from all of the other units that I've seen, they are essentially all fully colored, right? Blade is fully colored, right? YAE is fully covered, right? Yao Guang is fully colored, Sparxie, Silver Wolf, but this is the only unit that is a little bit somewhat fully colored, because her palettes are like kind of black and white in the first place, but like the comic panel that floats right on top of her right eye, that is gonna be a very interesting thing, all right? And then on top of that, the Origin AHA, is she gonna be the AHA herself, right? Is she gonna be the big bad boss, right? Or is it just another curveball that AHA wants to throw at you because, they want to like just throw you for the sake of throwing you? So I'm not too sure, but this is personally the unit that I'm gonna be most interested in, and hopefully, just for my personal expression, is that if YAE SAKURA is gonna be the flagship, I hope that she is basically the Pollux of this version, so Bob can actually invest in Nihilux, right? So that is gonna be pretty much from the account progression. And then last but not least is going to be Ashveil. Hello, Boothill. Bada boom, bada bing, right? True AHA. He stirs, he yawns, and AHA, he is awake. So Boothill over here, okay, you know what? Ashveil, Boothill, Ashveil is looking very, very heavily inspired by Boothill himself, but I've also been told that by Honkai Impact 3 fans that he is also very reminiscent of this other character called La Mancha. From the cape that he is wearing behind is actually a little bit mongoose, because you can see there are 2 different eyes over there. Gulp. So if you guys see those kind of like Cthulhu, Lovecraftian, those kind of like cosmic horror kind of things, these capes look, the eyes look a little bit similar to that regard. So I will be interested to see how that is going to be turning out. From what I see over here, once again, he's not going to be having any weapons, just purely from his outfit. His right hand is looking to be, or rather at this POV is going to be the left hand, is looking at some kind of like a seal, like a bind, with like a little bracelet. So maybe his left hand, or rather his right hand, is gonna be the one that is gonna be doing a little bit more of an interesting mechanic, right? So those are going to be the initial impressions. First look at ready to become, welcome to the AHA-verse, right? Ready to become AHA for the next upcoming, I'm guessing upcoming, 7 different units to HSR version 4. As you can see from this screenshot over here, Silver Wolf right here being the selected unit out of all those 7 units. So that's going to be a very, very cute little option. I'm not too sure, once again, if they are actually going to be playable or not playable, but aligning with the drip marketing that we see from previously, it is almost without a shadow of doubt they should be playable units, right? Unless AHA really wants to draw like a complete 360-degree curveball, and none of these like other units are playable, and it's like a whole new set. I don't think it's possible, but if that's gonna be done in AHA, then there should be no other patch other than from this version 4, right? Out of all these versions, they didn't really mention their elements, their archetypes, or in fact anything for that matter. It is purely just like a drip marketing, sort of like an art, just for you guys to get anticipated for the upcoming version 4. Now, I do notice that every single one of these different units, they have their little emojis, right? So Yao Guang is gonna be like the happy smile, Blade is cool, Evanescia is gonna be like whoa, and then Sparxie is like big sad, and then like King AHA is like, you know, neutral, like unbothered, and then like Origin AHA is like the ooh face, and lastly True AHA is like a little bit of an awkward face. So not too sure if that's just for one second drip marketing or have anything ties to their personal characteristics in terms of the story, because I know for a fact that Silver Wolf, she's actually pretty unbothered in real life, right? She most of the time is gonna be pretty neutral, right? Always EB, always DB. Sparxie, I don't really know if she's always like this, like she's looking up, like, you know, feeling sad a little bit for herself. And I think WoW for like the AHA over here, like Evanescia, this should be the most hyped unit in at least the next, I would say, 3 to 4 months. So that's gonna be that. If I wanna just make a quick guess as to what their kits are gonna be, honestly, it's a little bit hard, but I'll just do my very best here without going too deep into the details, because this is not gonna be the official drip marketing. It is just purely from a whole ass out of nowhere, the Aeonic Gate, right? The Paradise of Elation coming in. So for all of these things, we don't really know what are their paths aside from Yao Guang and Sparxie, which have both been already revealed to be Elation. So if every single one of these units are going to be shown over here, if they all of a sudden join the power of Elation, that means we are going to be having 7 Elation units all at the same time, because it literally says joining the path of AHA, right? And everyone is AHA, right? You can surpass AHA, throw AHA. So I wouldn't be too shocked if every single one do belong to the path of Elation, right? So for in terms of the elements, I don't really want to go off by their color palette, right? Silver Wolf used to be Quantum, Blade used to be Wind, Sparxie unfortunately really changed color from Quantum to Fire. So this means that whatever their old elements were last time doesn't really seem to have too big of a relation as to what they're going to be doing for this current moment, right? So for Blade in particular, personally, I kind of hope that he can break out from being like a DPS kind of guy and can explore some sort of alternative path, very similar to how Sparkle, right? She used to be essentially a support. I guess from what I see from the drip market and everything, she might have a potential to go into the DPS, right? So hopefully something can happen for Blade as well, where maybe he's a sustain, right? Maybe he becomes a whole ass sustain, and he's just gonna be helping you heal your entire team's damage, and this also allows him to stay a little bit more relevant throughout the entire story. Now, I do notice one thing, speaking of Blade, is that now that Blade is here, alongside with Silver Wolf, and Firefly just had an arc and a Mongol, I do wonder how is Kafka gonna be tying to this entire story in version 4. Because like I mentioned over here for Blade's post, Blady's on it, and no one else calls Blady aside from Kafka. And we have not seen a single drip marketing regarding Kafka for a pretty decent amount of time now. So hopefully maybe she's gonna make up like a special guest appearance throughout the time where we're gonna be playing version 4, right? So that's gonna be for Blade. Then for Evanescia, like I personally mentioned, I think she is most likely gonna be along the time where we are gonna be getting HSR's anniversary, right? So we are getting our first 8-week banner this week, going into Yao Guang for Sparxie. If the next banner is gonna be Blade into Evanescia, taking a look at my calendar, 30th is gonna be the live stream. Then I believe the actual unit comes out on the 11th. That's gonna be Yao Guang. 4th of March is going to be for Sparxie, and then 25th of March is going to be for Blady, and then 3 weeks later is gonna be on the 15th of April, which just nice coincides with HSR's anniversary. That is gonna be the 24th or 23. But essentially next week from 15th of April is gonna be HSR's 3-year or the 4-year Is it 3? 4.0. 4-year anniversary, right? So for this particular instance, Evanessia's banner is most likely going to be right smack on top, the perfect placement for a anniversary banner, assuming that everything we come to see over here follows that 3-week schedule after the live stream, right? So with that being established, if she is going to be the anniversary unit, from what we've seen in previous HSR iterations from version 2 as well as version 3, all of the anniversary units so far has gotten very, very big ties, not just in terms of like story, in terms of lore, but also like their meta, their vertical investments, their teammates, and definitely a lot of budget will be going into the marketing for this particular unit, right? So with that being established, Evanescia will probably be seeing the highest amount of interest, highest amount of plays, ties to the story. Maybe she's gonna be the Aggron, because Aggron also had her anniversary banner on that around period of time. So it will be pretty interesting to see like maybe a clash between Evanescia as well as like a guest appearance with Aggron, right? Because the two sword masters, both of them coming from Honkai and Battery, and all of a sudden like it just fits so nice for this part of the timeline. So that is gonna be for our Evanescia drip. Looking forward to see how she's gonna be doing. I do wonder what element she's gonna be though, because we don't really have a pink element. And there's the like flowers and Sakura. If I have to make like a guess, okay, yo, HI3 players, you can let me know what she actually does in HI3. Because right on boss Nori May, she was a lightning, right? So if she is gonna be like lore aggro towards HI3, then probably going into that category will be quite nice as well. Alright, so that is gonna be that for Evanescia. Sparxie, I've already mentioned she's gonna be coming out very, very soon, so not too much to think about. For Silver Wolf, Nihilux, as well as Ashveil, I think these three are gonna be what is coming right after the anniversary, assuming Evanescia is gonna be the anniversary unit. So from what we see back in version 2 as well as version 3, units that come after usually would be alternative DPS comps, or they're gonna be vertical supports for the anniversary unit. It's either one of these two, right? So you can see on version 3, Casterus was released around the anniversary period, and then after Casterus, we see the vertical supports for in terms of like, you know, higher scene, with a couple of Annexas for like D-Herda, and then final came around version 3.4. So if Evanescia is the anniversary DPS, and that's gonna be the case, Silver Wolf, Nihilux, as well as Ashveil, one of them is most likely gonna be her partner, and then one of them is gonna be most likely an alternative team comp alongside with like a whole other different path if you guys do not want to play the anniversary unit. I personally hope that Nihilux, my most, at least out of these 7 units, my most interested looking character. I hope that she doesn't end up becoming a partner to the flagship, because if that is gonna be the case, then my free-to-play account would probably end up having to skip her, because I did mention I'm going to be skipping flagship for this current version just to see how we're going to be proceeding on our free-to-play account, right? So if Nihilux is going to be in that boat, is a little bit unfortunate. I was there fighting for it on the main account, but if she is gonna be an alternative DPS, that would be very, very nice. So we can actually explore like Nihilux versus Evanescia, as well as a clash in terms of DPS comparisons between a flagship as well as a non-flagship, right? For Silver Wolf herself, her previous role in version 1 and after the rework has still been relegated to a support role, right? Planning the weakness, defense down. So if she is gonna be an entirely new unit, I do wonder if she can actually follow, like for example, becoming a DPS. Hopefully she still remains somewhat of a unique role that is tied to her gamer persona, right? Implanting weakness and everything. But it would be nice to see like a main, like a full-on main DPS Silver Wolf, which technically as of right now is really possible. You could play like a Super Silver Wolf, but we'll see how that's gonna be going. Like going away from Break, going away from like, I don't know, trade DPS into this brand new version 4 mechanic, whatever that is gonna be, right? So that's gonna be that. For Nihilux, I already mentioned, I hope that she's gonna be able to be a DPS for herself. So that's that. And lastly, for Ashveil, this guy compared to Blade are the 2 male units out of the 7 roster of 5 females. So for Ashveil, if she is going to become a DPS, I wonder which teammates are he gonna be yoinking for his personal development, or if he's gonna be a support or even a sustain, then he is gonna be tied up to our flagship team comps for the most part. Now, one thing that I've noticed, I'm not too sure if you guys have been aware, is that assuming that if you picked Stele as the unit, right? So this is regarding the main genre for the MC, most, if not all of the actual flagships that we see, they are all tied around a female roster. So for version 2, I think we can agree the flagship, the quote-unquote flagship, was Super Break, right? The actual Super Break flagship was Firefly, and it was essentially Firefly, Ranmei, Fuke, and Lengsha. And then maybe you want to run out Ninja, you run a sustainless Sterling, alright? Which is why Gallagher was seen like, okay, you know what, you want to run a 4-star as a replacement, so be it. So that was our version 2 flagship. Then version 3 flagship was the Pink Ladies plus Castris, right? It was Castris, Evernight, Hyacinth, as well as Cyrene. So version 4, if they're gonna be introducing another flagship, unless they have our first ever flagship that actually involves a male unit, I don't really know if Ashveil is going to be able to find a slot into the flagship team for Elation. So most likely, he is going to be either the final route, the alternative DPS route, or the support or sustain for the alternative DPS within version 4. It would be quite funny to see like Blade's best slot being a Ashveil, and they just come up with a whole roster of full man team in Elation. I think that would be very, very nice to see. Not too sure what that's going to be because these ultimately are going to be 7 units as of right now. There are most likely going to be even more units coming on in the future because from the timeline we see right now, it is probably only the first half of 2026 for these 7 units. So if anniversary is going to be around the banner for Evanescia, let's just say it's the 15th of April, then afterwards 3 weeks later is going to be 6th of May, and that's either Silverwolf, Nihilux, or Ashveil, and then 27, and then 17th of June. So it exactly lands right smack in the middle on the 17th of June, assuming we're having 2 banners every 6 weeks. If they want to do some single banners here and there, then maybe the timeline would differ, but this is exactly right there to have ourselves the first half of AHA into the second half of AHA. Now, I'm not too sure if Elation and this entire version 4 is going to be as long as compared to Amphorius, because Amphorius did last pretty much the entirety of 1 year for the story to develop. Personally, I kind of want to wish that we don't really see that long of a development and then kind of just tidy up and make the story more concise, and possibly after Elation, we can see other areas of Planet Arcadia or whatever else is going to be. So for example, in Genshin Impact, I've been told that Nordkreis arc is coming to an end. And there's a lot of different areas aside from Nordkreis within this whole new realm itself. So maybe if HSR can go that route, we can see even more interesting cards outside of AHA. But if they want to develop it for 1 entire year, I do wonder what is it going to take for them to match up to the development that actually went into M4s, especially considering that, you know, the delay and everything between 3.0 into version 4. So that's going to be there. Right? So with that, we are going to come into the end of our version 4.0, version 4's, I don't even know what to call this, version 4 drip marketing pre-release teaser, 7 units review. Welcome to the AHA-verse, all that kind of stuff. Let me know what you guys in the comments below. Word of the day is going to be, you are AHA. Join Discord, join Discord, join to the use code POKE for 10% on game subs. All the best for all your crews. See you guys next time. Bye.